Now, India's fiscal deficit for the year 2025 is expected to stand at about 4.8% of the GDP, slightly below the initially budgeted estimate of 4.9%. And this reduction is mainly driven by the lower than expected expenditure, particularly on capital investments, and higher than anticipated dividends from the Reserve Bank of India. The government has revised its total receipts for 2025 to 31.47 trillion rupees, with net tax receipts of 25.57 trillion rupees. The revised expenditure estimate has also increased, with capital expenditure pegged at about 10.18 trillion rupees. Now, these adjustments reflect the government's ongoing efforts to maintain fiscal discipline. To finance this fiscal deficit of 16.13 trillion rupees, the government is relying on net market borrowings, with the remaining balance to be covered by small savings and other sources. The government aims to reduce central government debt as a percentage of GDP in line with the fiscal consolidation roadmap that's been announced in 2022, despite a slowdown in government's final consumption expenditure and weaker private consumption. GST collections and direct tax revenues have remained fairly robust. Now, corporate tax revenues did see a modest dip, but overall tax collections have continued to provide support for the fiscal management. India's GDP growth has slowed to about 5.4% in the September quarter, marking its weakest expansion in nearly about 2 years. And this was mainly due to weaker private consumption and government spending. Now, despite this, the government has successfully reduced its fiscal deficit from 9.1% in 2021 to 4.8% in 2025. And this marks a significant improvement over the past few years. Additionally, the RBI's dividend payout has provided a much-needed boost to the government's finances, and this dividend is a 141% increase compared to the previous year, helping offset some of the fiscal pressures and also contributing to the fiscal consolidation efforts. However, global uncertainties and supply chain shocks continue to dictate the government's spending priorities. All right, now to give us more perspective in terms of how this budget, of course, will play out for the Indian economy, we're joined in this broadcast by Dr. Niranjan Hiranandani, who's the chairman, Naredco, and the Hiranandani Group, is, of course, joining us live on this broadcast. Dr. Hiranandani, thank you very much indeed, sir, for taking time out and speaking to us here in WION. And let me, in fact, first start off by asking you this. In your assessment, it is difficult for a finance minister to make everyone happy, but this time round, the middle class seems to be smiling after listening to the finance minister. Do you think the finance minister has done enough to address the concerns of the middle class?
Well, there's never enough. In Hindi, we say, dil mange more. And what has happened is, in fact, she has done a wonderful job. On one side, the fiscal deficit has been put under control, which is extremely important because she wanted to do inflation control, which was important for the economy to see that it is there. And second, she has been able to help not only the middle class, but also to be able to do expenditure in various sectors of the economy in terms of investing in agriculture, in terms of social welfare, in terms of various aspects of the economy, which have actually requires to be done. So flag-offs of many of the sectors are extremely important in order to see that the continued growth and employment in India should continue simultaneously with the top line growth of the GDP, which is 6.2%, which is the highest in the world at this point of time, but not enough for the economy to grow at that rate. We need at least 8% plus if we want to achieve the Prime Minister's target of Viksit Bharat by 2030. So I think more has to be done in that sense of the term, but a lot has been done in this sector, which I'm really happy about.
Indeed. Now, job creation is something that you mentioned briefly there. The real estate sector is one of the biggest creator of jobs. For the real estate sector, what is your takeaway from this budget?
I have a little detailed figure to share with you. The point is very simple. We are the second largest employer after agriculture in India. We employ at today's date more than 71 million workers.
Right.
But unfortunately, only 13 million of them are skilled. We actually need 23 million skilled workers today, which means we are almost 10 million short, or 1 crore workers short today for
Right.
skills. And what skills are we talking about? We are talking about carpenters, plumbers, electricians, painters, marble layers, fitters, and people like that. In 2030, because of the growth of infrastructure and housing, we will be needing 100 million workers, and out of which we need 33 million to be skilled out of them, which means we will need 2 crore additional workers, skilled workers, to be trained by them. And all the provisions that we are talking about are not adequate enough to see the present position, forget the growth. In the last 2 months, L&T the CEO of L&T made a statement that they are today only one company, 25,000 workers short in terms of skill development workers. Our company would be short by 500 workers today, skilled workers in this segment. So the issue is,
Right.
on one side, we have done a lot in terms of the middle class, but at the same time, we need to focus more on skilling of the country while we are doing IIMs, IITs, research and other things.
Right.
I think a more focus, bigger focus on skilling will actually handle a lot of the unemployment problem. And of course, one other target that
Dr.
we really
Hiranandani,
need is,
just on that one thought, if I can just interject there, you're saying that at this moment in 2025, you're short by 10 million skilled workers for the real estate sector. It's almost paradoxical. There is a crisis of jobs where people are not able to get jobs. And here you're saying that there are 10 million jobs that are going begging. How does the government bridge this?
so it's not impossible to do so. See, because of technology, we could probably skill the workers on the sites itself by having them in terms of on the sites which are already construction workers on sites from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, from Ahmedabad to Kolkata. We have hundreds of thousands of sites. If each one of them could, through remote VC and others, provide additional training along with the construction thing, where you could involve the corporate entities, government contractors, and other people to also train these workers. And finally, certification could be done by another agency instead of training to be done by the government agencies. I think a lot of solution to this problem will happen. So I think what is important is, while I think the budget is fantastic, and look at the balance which she has had to do in spite of all the constraints that it is there. I think she's done a wonderful job, and overall the Prime Minister's target appears to be there. But if these couple of things could be focused on, I think we would be achieving far more than what we could have imagined.
All right. And also, one of the key requirements of any budget is to try and ensure that the rate of growth goes up. At this moment, do you think with the changes that have been announced and with the policy measures that have been put in place, can India attract more investment from abroad to try and increase the rate of growth in India?
So I visited Davos this month, and the interest in India is humongous. Of course, a lot of people are just waiting for other issues like the policies which may come from Trump. A lot of companies which are China +1 are looking at investments into India for manufacturing and services. So that is already happening. But overall, I think with the trade barriers going up, the opportunities of India, in fact, are going higher, because each country has to now do things which otherwise they were importing from other countries. So I think the opportunity in the next 5 years for India, especially because of the demographics that we have, are going to be very, very good.
Very interesting. Thank you very much, Dr. Hiranandani, for joining us with that perspective, sir.
Thank you.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.